everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. I've had so many people request that I make an updated how I edit my Instagram photos video. Now, I actually made one January of this year. I thought that I had made this last year, but I've just checked and I made it January this year, which is crazy. It feels like I made that years ago. But since January, my editing style really has changed. So I will link the video up here in the iCards if you want to still go check that out. It's quite helpful if you are new to Lightroom and you kind of want to know the basics of editing. There's little things that I do differently now, so I'm just going to be sharing that with you in today's video. Quick little plug. Go give me a follow here at The Vintage Vision. If you have seen my Instagram before, you'll know that I love taking photos and I'm obsessed with editing photos. It's honestly like one of my favorite things to do. Just the whole before and after transformation is something that I just find so interesting. How do I take my Instagram photos nowadays? I have a photographer that helps me shoot for my Instagram posts, and we do a lot of kind of travel photography, so he helps me out on that because I think he mixes it up between Nikon, I think maybe Fujifilm, and I've shot with photographers in the past that have used Canon. Honestly, if you're using a DSLR, I think all DSLRs, the quality is pretty great, so I'm not going to recommend certain cameras because I think they all work perfectly well. Even iPhone photos are incredible nowadays. So I wouldn't say like you need to invest in a good camera because I don't think you need to at all. I think the magic part of it is the editing, and that's where you can create a really beautiful photo. Now, when it comes to editing, I use the Lightroom mobile app. I have Lightroom on my desktop, but I think it's way too complicated. And I like editing photos on the go, so Lightroom mobile app is perfect for me, not to mention it's free. So any of you guys can use it, and I think it's a great way to get into photo editing. The thing with Lightroom is that you can create so many different looks. It depends on the theme, it depends what you like. Some people like more natural looking images, some people like more vibrant images. It completely depends on what kind of look you want from your photo, and that's what's great about Lightroom is that once you start playing around with different edits, you can really decide what it is that you like and what kind of look you're going for. So what I'm going to do is open up my Lightroom app and I'm just going to show you some basic editing techniques that I use, and then we're going to start talking about presets as well. Okay, so I have this image here of me in Little India in Singapore. Now, this looks like the most basic photo you've ever seen, but we're gonna completely transform it and turn it into something really beautiful. And like I said, I think that's the great thing about photo editing is that you can go from a really average looking photo to something amazing. So first thing I'm gonna do is crop this because it needs to be the optimum size for Instagram, which is 4:5. So I'm gonna edit it just like this. I know there's a bin in the background, which isn't the most glamorous thing. Okay, the bin is still in the background, but it gives it character. It's, you know, it is what it is. Okay, so apart from this photo, the majority of the images we take on DSLR, I always make sure that they are slightly underexposed. Why? Because when you go to edit them, you can really make the colors pop and they just look much more vibrant. If you overexpose your image and it's way too bright, it's very, very difficult to edit in Lightroom after you've taken it. So I would always say underexpose it a bit so it looks slightly darker than usual, because we're always going to brighten it up in the edit. So because this photo is quite bright already, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and completely lower those highlights. I'm going to take them right to the bottom because it was quite bright already, so I don't want it to be like overexposed. And then what we're going to do is bring those shadows right up as well. This edit that I'm going to do now is a style that I've really enjoyed using lately, but there are a bunch of styles that I like to use, but I'm just going to show you one that I've been enjoying. Okay, the next thing I'm thinking we need to do is go in and warm up this image slightly. So I go to color here and to temperature, and if you bring this temperature up, it makes your temperature warmer, so more yellow toned. If you go the other way, it makes it more blue toned. So I'm gonna warm this image up to about there. And then I'm going to bring the tint down to around -44. This is giving it this kind of green tint. I also like to play around with the vibrance as well, so I'm gonna bring up the vibrance just a little bit, just so that those colors pop a little bit more. Now, when it comes to colors, the first thing I would usually go to is my greens. Now, I live in a very green city, so a lot of my images contain a lot of greens and foliage and that kind of thing. So greens to me are very, very important. Now, although we don't have any like trees in this one, I still will go to greens as my first stop. So a edit that I've enjoyed doing lately is a very warm edit. So what I will do is I will whack those hues up to 100. And I like to bring my saturation all the way down. So you can see that it's given these greens a little less saturation, and more of a darker green color, which I really, really like at the moment. Like I said, you can play around with greens entirely. Like if you wanted them brighter, you can bring that saturation up, or if you wanted a different tone of green, you can just play around with these. But the edit I like at the moment, this is how I like it. So hues up to 100, saturation down to -100. Blues, I'm gonna bring these up slightly. I really like the hue on that one. I want the blue in the background to pop. And this is your lighter blue as well. You can kind of play around with the hue and saturation there also. Okay, so next we're going into yellows, and I'm gonna take my hue right down to the orange side of the spectrum. And I'm also gonna bring my saturation along as well. Now you can see the difference that that saturation makes in the yellow. If I whack it all the way up, it's pretty ugly. But if I mute the colors slightly and I bring that saturation down, it's giving it a much more natural, kind of toned down look, but it's still like a warm image. So I'm gonna bring that quite far down, maybe to -70. Okay, now the next thing, I spoke about this in my last video, but I like to play around with the oranges to correct my skin tone. Now, not every day I look tanned. Like today, I'm very pale, I haven't fake tanned. So to warm up my skin tone slightly, I'm gonna bring up that saturation to around +15. I'm gonna bring that luminance down so you can see that it gives me a bit more of a tanned skin tone. If I brought it all the way up, I'd be super pale and bright. If I brought it all the way down, it'd be very, very dark. So I want to keep a kind of middle ground there. You can already see how much we've transformed this image. The last thing I'm going to do is go into light and play around with the exposure and the contrast. I want to brighten this image up just slightly, so I'm going to put it to about +46. And also, if you want to play around with your contrast, you can do so. I like my contrast to be quite subtle, so I'm going to leave that at +9. And also, if you wanted to bring up the whites, you can also do that too. So I think we are going to leave the image there. I'm going to show you a quick before and after. The great thing about Lightroom is you can hold down the image and it will show you the before edit and the after edit. And you can see there that it has made such a huge difference to not only the quality of the photo, but it just looks so much more aesthetically pleasing and appealing. And obviously if you saw that in your feed, you probably think, oh, that's a nice photo. Well, at least I would anyway. So I'm really happy with how that edit turned out. So that was just a little quick demo of the kind of style that I've been enjoying using lately. The main thing that I do nowadays, if I don't want to go in and manually edit my photos, is I will use Lightroom presets. Now, you might have heard this term everywhere and you may not still know what it means, but essentially a preset is like a filter. So, you know, on like VSCO cam, you would have different filters, or on Instagram, you have different filters. A preset is essentially a filter. That edit, for example, that I've just made, say if I love that edit and I want to apply it to different photos, all I would do is go in the top right corner, press the three dots and click create preset. That is then saving all those adjustments and edits that I just made, and I can save it as, I don't know, fave. So I can save that, and what I can do now is apply that preset to other images. So I actually do have my own presets. I have 3 preset packs available on my website that you guys can enjoy. They are all different styles and different preferences that I love to use on my images for all different occasions. I will link them below in the description box if you're interested and you want to go check them out for yourselves. The reason I love presets so much is that they are so quick and easy to use. So rather than manually having to go in, I can just select the preset I want, and within a second my image is already edited. So it's super convenient. So I thought I'd just show you a couple of the presets that I have now. Okay, so we have this image here of these cacti when I was at the flower market. My most recent preset pack is my warm summer preset pack for mobile. These are going to work for all the photos that you take on your mobile phones. Like I said, I love to take photos on my phone all the time. So this contains 5 different edits. This is warm summer 1, warm summer 2, number 3, number 4 and number 5. Now, so you can see that they all have this different kind of warm style. And this is a preset pack that I've absolutely been loving to use this summer. If you go over to my Instagram, you will see that I've been using this preset basically non-stop. If you wanted to adjust that slightly, every photo is going to vary depending on the light and the contrast of the image. So if this was too bright for you, you can literally go into exposure and just tone it down slightly and the image is perfect. So some might need a tiny bit of tweaking. Like I said, every photo varies, but they're just so easy to use. Another preset of mine is the vintage preset pack. I love using this one to give my photos more of a kind of vintage feel. If you're a fan of taking photos of facades and food and architecture, this is going to be an amazing preset pack for you. So this is what vintage 1 looks like. I love this edit so much. I just think it looks so like old school and vintage. I absolutely love it. This is vintage 2, again, a little less saturation for that vintage feel, and vintage number 3. And the third preset pack is the favorites preset pack. This is another favorite of mine that I've been loving. Obviously, it's called the favorites pack. It's really great for greens. If you take a lot of green photos, I think you're going to love this one. So this is favorites 1, favorites 2, and favorites 3. I especially loved using this preset pack when I was in Bali. I took some beautiful photos. So this was an image from the beach club. We were at Mississippi in Bali. You can see how these presets just take your photo from just like an average photo to like Instagram worthy. So there's 3 different presets in this one. And again, you can tweak around with them if you want to play around with the lightness and the contrast as well. You can edit that. Also, I use them for my stories and for my Instagram photos. And like I said, you can create so many different looks with them, which is what I love. So guys, I hope I didn't ramble on too much with this video, and I do really hope that you found it helpful, especially if you're learning to use Lightroom mobile and want to get your hands on some presets and start working with those to up your Instagram game. I really do think that it takes your Instagram to another level, which is why I think they've become so popular nowadays. If you guys have any further questions about anything I've covered in this video, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them and help you out. Like I said, you can go find my Instagram down below, and link to my preset packs are there also. I'm also going to give you guys a little bit of a discount. So if you use the promo code YouTube at checkout with your presets, you will get 20% off your order. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if this was helpful and you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more from me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.